Blessings, everybody. This is Dale. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Word Podcast. We are in Psalm 139, an amazing, amazing, amazing psalm. Did I say amazing? Amazing psalm. And we're just getting started in it. And so let me go back and review the first 6 or 7 verses we've looked at, then we'll press on. Verse 1 says this. Remember, it's got a title, To the Choir Master, a Psalm of David. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain it. And so that's verse 6 where we've covered so far. I would really encourage you to spend the balance of your time in this corporeal existence really going through this psalm right here, because every time you read it, you'll see more and more. So the bottom line is David, the psalmist, is saying, you know, what I can see and what knowledge I have about you, Lord, is too wonderful. It's too high. I can't attain to it. I can't prevail against it. That's what the Lexham says. Okay. You know, we think attain to it's like you're trying to get more knowledge, more knowledge. It's a little more than that. Okay. A little more. Now, verse 7, can I say that he starts to apply and understand? So what's the point of this knowledge? What is all this? Listen what he says in verse 7. Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? So what he's saying is that this knowledge that he's had has given him understanding and revelation about the nature of God. And he says, where can I go, God, where you're not there? Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I run to where your presence isn't there? And the unstated answer is nowhere. There is nowhere that we can flee, nowhere we can run, nowhere that we can be to where God is not there. David then gives some examples. Verse 8, if I ascend to heaven, you are there. Okay, well, we know that. That's been stated several times in the psalm. The balance of the verse, though, is really interesting. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. So he says, if I ascend to heaven, okay, the very presence of God, but particularly in this, the Hebrew word is used right here, are the heavens, the sky, but also where God abides. If I ascend, you're there. But if I make my bed, in other words, if I spread out my bed in Sheol, you are there. Now, Sheol is a pretty common term now. That's actually the Hebrew word, is Sheol. The King James translates it as hell. If I make my bed in hell, then you are there. And sometimes this is disruptive to our thoughts, because we think, God's in hell? Is God in hell? God is everywhere. God is where he chooses to be. Yes, the word is Sheol, and it is translated as hell. It's also translated as underworld, as the grave, as the pit. And it literally is the Old Testament designation, is the official title or explanation of the abode of the dead. And so if I'm dead and I ascend to heaven, you're there. If I'm dead and I ascend to Sheol, God, you are there. Verse 9. This one right here really struck me when I read it a while ago. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, verse 10, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. So let's look at what he's saying is going to happen. He's saying, God, your hand is going to lead me. Okay? Your hand's going to lead me. And your right hand is always a picture of the seat of power, seat of strength. Your right hand shall hold me. But he says what? If I take the wings of the morning, or the wings of the dawn, as a couple of translations say here, or that morning, the dawn. So what's the wings? What's being painted here? Well, the immediate idea is, particularly when you use the word dawn, if I lift up the wings of the dawn, if I take the wings of the dawn, when you see dawn beginning to appear, when you see dawn coming up on us, he's saying, if I take that, if I seize that opportunity of that day, you're with me. You're leading me. That word wings in the Hebrew is a little interesting because it's translated as wing. Yeah. It's also translated as shirt or corner, or this as border or extremity or edge. Yeah, border, extremity, edge. The border of what? The extremity of what? The edge of what? If I take the border, the edge of what I can see with dawn coming, the difference between dark and dawn, if I get to the very edge of that, if I take that edge and go for it, God, you're still there. Your right hand's going to hold me. You're leading me. I think there's likely a little hint of even more that we see within the scripture there related to cosmology and the things that occur. But I don't know, so I won't say much more than that right there. But he builds on that in verse 11. He says this, if I say, and then it's a quote, this is the psalmist quoting himself if he were to say this, if I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be light. Verse 12, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you. So remember, he's talking about just the wonder and the glory of God and the things of God that are far beyond anything that he can comprehend and understand. And we all join with him in that, right? But he says, even if I say that darkness shall cover me and the light about me be night. Let me see what the New American Standard says. He says, if I say, surely the darkness will overwhelm me and the light around me will be night. So he's saying, even if I'm in a situation, in a circumstance to where I'm overwhelmed by darkness, and the light that I have and everything I've experienced like that has become darkness now, even if that occurs, guess what? Even the darkness is not dark to God. Night is bright as the day to God, for darkness is as light with God. Now, I think there's a lot of things to consider there. And I've only got about a minute left. So even from the point of view of ups and downs in life, okay, that kind of thing, the lights and the darknesses of life, God is with us. He will not abandon us. I think it also may be speaking to cosmology and speaking to the actual physical realm that God created. As a matter of fact, I know it is, because God created everything. And he's not limited by anything. God's not limited by the fact that we say, oh, there's no light right now, so I can't see. God can see in that darkness in the same way that we see. There's still frequency that's occurring within the darkness. Okay? Wave frequency, light frequency, sound frequency. God sees it all. We can't see it. We can't interpret it, but it's still there. And he's just acknowledging that with God, there is nothing that hinders him. There's nothing that limits him within his creation. Nothing at all within his creation and outside his creation. That's another interesting thought in and of itself. Well, my time's up. Anyway, I'm Dale. Hey, consider taking these things before the Lord and see what he reveals to you. I'll see y'all next episode. Goodbye.